All right, so I am just going to jump straight into this. This is fairly complex. There's a lot to it. I am not going to be covering absolutely everything. I just want to get the basics down for the new map makers. I might create additional videos after this to get into the more complex stuff, but I just want to go straight into the basics. So let's jump right in. I'm just going to jump straight into this. I have a test map here, and we are going to flatten it out and just kind of start from bare scratch. So as you can see, this is where I kind of test stuff out, see what works and what doesn't. As you can see right now, I was testing shell holes, a lot of shell holes, and I was also testing the backgrounds, these good old backgrounds that you can create. I might get into that later of how you can do that. But yeah, this brown section here is the actual map. So to open the map editor, it is Control E. And then where do I even begin, man? There's a lot. So let's just start with the good old terrain height. I think this is a good place to start. So as you can see here, there are a few options here of changing various ways to make terrain. Let's focus on the main ones. We're not going to go over all of this. We're just going to focus on the important ones. So first one we're going to focus on here is the raise feature. And you notice that the map will lag every once in a while, and that's it auto-saving. It will automatically auto-save every few minutes. You can also change the time and everything, and you can change the settings on the autosaves, but we're not getting into that. So, focusing on the terrain, as you can see here, I have raised terrain selected. I can change the pattern of what I am creating, essentially. There's various forms here that you can see. So there's like a splotchy ones for various types of materials. Your creativity is really the limit on these. But let's just focus on two simple ones. So we got a dot formation. I can raise it up. And then we got probably the most useful one right here, which is just a simple circle. Beautiful. So yes, raise to your heart's content. So a few things you can adjust with this. As you can see, radius right here. We can make this huge. We can crank it up to 400. Giants. Massive, massive mounds here. We can change the sensitivity. This will determine how fast it does it. So crank it up. As you can see, I raise extremely fast. Let's change it down. And you can change all of this with your keys. You can type in all of this. You don't have to use the the sliders. You don't have to do that. Anyway, sensitivity will determine how quickly it moves. So I put it down to 1. As you can see, very slow. So you get the idea. And then, okay, so this is getting into levels, and this is important especially for creating trenches and stuff. So we can determine a set level that we want the terrain to raise to. Okay, so let's raise this up. So right now we're at 15. Let's raise it up to, I don't know, 50. And so now when I'm raising terrain, it's not going to do it. But if I change this to level terrain, then when I do this, it will go to whatever level I set, in which case this was pretty high at 50. So it will only go to that height. So I can make easy changes, especially early on, to the size of things by doing this with levels. And so you can imagine, let's say if we were building a trench, a good trench size is 9 or 10. If you want to make a larger trench, you can probably go up to 12. But a standard trench is going to be a 9 or a 10. Let's get the sensitivity a little higher. And then let's level down. And we can just kind of, well, since we're just winging it here, we can level down to, oh gee, I don't know. Let's go to 0. See where that takes us. So yeah, a little bit into the ground. Oh, I have water set on this. I forgot about that. But not important. The important thing is that it's only going to go to that exact depth. So if you want to build a trench, you can do a little zigzag. You can do the good old German squares going across, or whatever. You can create longer curvy ones, however you want to set it up. But you have to remember that your pattern has to be tight to whatever size you're doing for a section of the trench. Oh, too many words. Basically, you don't want to make these patterns too big. Easy one would be like the German square. So if I'm going like this big, this is giant. Like this is massive. You just don't realize it when you're in the editor. But so you have to get close. You have to actually check things and make sure everything's the right size and not too big or too small. So yeah, that's level. And then of course lower terrain, same exact concept, just the opposite, right? So let's turn the sensitivity up. And we can just go into the ocean floor. Dragging down, etc., etc. So yeah, good stuff. So yeah, I'm lowering the terrain. Alright, like I said, I'm not going to go over everything, there's too much. I'm just going over the basics. Smooth terrain. So when stuff looks like this, like it's pretty jagged, you can use the smooth terrain to smooth it out. See that? It looks a lot better now. Less edges. I can do it on this. Turn it into a mount. I can do it on the sides of like large walls. Slope them out a bit. And you can use the sensitivity to really shape this up as much as you want. You can use it on trenches to make them look a bit more natural and have less of a jagged edge. Yeah, there's a lot of applications for the smooth terrain. Moving on to, okay, this is important. The holes. So let's say we were trying to make either like a dugout, or we were trying to create, I don't know, a underground tunnel, let's say. You can do this, and I should actually get rid of the water. Okay, don't mind this. Don't worry about this part. I'm just scared. Don't worry about what I just did. Continuing on. So if we want to make a hole in the ground for a dugout or something, so let's say if we want to make like a dugout in this very, very rudimentary trench, we can, let's just say, shrink this down to an 8 or thereabouts. Maybe a little larger depending on what you're doing. There we go. There's a hole in the ground now. And so let's say you made the hole a little too big or whatever, and you want to shrink it down. What you need to do is go to remove hole, and then you can kind of slide in and, you know, get it down to exactly the size you want, whatever. And so once you've created that hole, you have to actually build props under the ground and make sure that nothing is like looks weird or is like clipping through wrong. And that's how you create like dugouts and stuff under the ground. And it's extremely important if you are trying to do that. Most of the maps have some kind of underground spawns, so that is important to keep in mind if you're trying to make like a legit map and you're not just messing around. Anyways, yeah, honestly, that's most of the important stuff on this part. Yeah, okay, moving on. Paint terrain. So, as you can see, everything is currently dirt. It is all dirt. This is the texture part. So, let's say I want some good old-fashioned live grass. Let's go ahead and crank the radius up. Okay, so let's say we wanted to create grass. Let's go ahead and click on the grass here. And let's go ahead and create some grass. Bada boom. Alright, so now we got a grass map. And so this is very important for like detailing and stuff. So let's get into one of these rudimentary trenches here. If I want to make this look a bit more natural, I can click here and I can select a few things. Let's go to dirt. Let's get the good old circle. Actually, no, let's go, let's show you something. Let's go to the dots here. Let's shrink ourselves down. And then we can create some dirt. Get that going. And so now the trench looks a bit better. It looks like they actually, dug into the ground. Same thing if it's like a shell hole or whatever. Make it look like an actual shell hole with the dirt. And like it's good to kind of and you can if you use the scroll wheel, you can change the position of the texture, so you can like kind of scroll and click, and that creates kind of a messy, kind of uneven look, and that makes the shell hole look a lot better. Whatever you're doing. Obviously, I didn't put much effort into this, but you get the idea. And then let's show you the mud one. The mud one's kind of weird. It's like a sheen, and it's like a very distinct pattern. You don't want to use this one too much, because if you do, you get kind of this like repeating pattern that doesn't look very good. So you want to use this one sparingly and just create like little puddles here and there if you're doing like a muddy map or a mud section. You don't want to go ham with this one. And then we got texture 4. Okay, so texture 4 is going to be one texture that you can add to the additional one. So these are the only textures you actually have access to here. Now texture 4 can be a few different things. So let's go ahead and select texture 4. And now let's change it to one of these ones. And we can only have one of these at any time. So you can't have both the plowed field and the burn floor. You can only have one or the other. So let's show you the stone. Show you the desert rock. So depending on the map that you wanted to do, for instance, if I was doing like a Monte Grappa-esque map, I would probably want to use this one for my 4th texture for like the rocks and stuff. And then we got sand. If you're doing a desert map, oops, that's the wrong one. There we go. And as you can see, whatever I have down, so let's do some sand here. Whatever I have down as texture 4 will change depending on what I select here. So now it's a plowed field. And now it's burned floor. And burned floor is another kind of repeating pattern, so be careful about using this one a lot as well. It's a very, very obvious pattern, as you can see. Okay, moving on. So, is there anything else I really need here? Oh, here we go. So this kind of doesn't work when I have my custom background here, so let's go ahead and get rid of some stuff. Okay, so backgrounds. That is going to be in the paint terrain section as well. Let's go ahead and, so map size. Do not ever use 450 if you're being serious about the map. Obviously, you can mess around and do whatever you want, but if you want to make like an actual competitive map, always use 350 because it messes with the digging system. And so let's go ahead and do. So we got desert, which is currently nothing. They haven't added a desert one yet, really. I mean, I guess that kind of blank pattern down there is the desert, but it's not really much. It doesn't look like a desert really. And then we got the ocean, exactly the same. Coastal, exactly the same. It's all unfinished right now. And land, which is pretty much the only viable background, unless you are creating a custom background like you saw me doing with the long planes. I might get into that later of how to do that. That's a little bit more advanced. But yeah, this is the proper background. And what else we got here? Yeah, that's all the important stuff, the simple stuff. Moving on. Okay, let's get into the real nitty-gritty props. So this little bar here you can use to search the props that you've already created. Very important if you're trying to find stuff easily. So let's just pick a random prop here. All right, and as you can see here, I scrolled here and okay, these are the categories of things you can spawn, and you can also download from the Discord. There's a channel for prop groups, and you can download custom prop groups, and that's actually extremely useful, especially for making a serious map, because people have made a lot of really good things that can quicken the process of making a map. It cuts down a lot of the work and the time required. So anyways, so prop grouping here are the custom prop groups, so we're going to ignore that. You have a lot of options here. Other covers a lot of the like more meta map stuff, like for instance like a no build zone for engineers. Bots, obviously everything related to bots. I'm not going to go over all of it. There's too much. Basically, this covers everything that you can spawn into the game. It's all the important stuff. There's quite a bit of it. I'll probably cover the like capture stuff and like the more kind of meta game stuff in terms of like making cap points and doing bases and stuff, and all of that later. I might do that in another video, but yeah, there's a lot. And if you want to spawn vehicles, that's in cannons. Let's just get into prop manipulation. Let's keep it simple. Okay, so as you can see here, I spawned this bridge, right? And here you can find it even if I spawn a bunch of them. And it's an easy way to select, like for instance, if I had a bunch of trees, like a certain type of tree, and I wanted to get rid of all of that certain type of tree, I would go up here, I would type in whatever the prop name is, I would find them here, I would be able to select them all, and I could like delete them or whatever. Okay, so the bridge here, let's get this bridge going. So a few things you can do with the bridge. T is holding down T and then moving your mouse is going to make it go up or down. Holding G is going to move it in a more kind of X-plane direction. And that's holding down G if I didn't already say that. We got X, holding down X to turn it this way. We got Y, holding down Y, doing this with my mouse once again. And we got Z. And so you can get your prop into the proper place by doing that. So, oh yeah, and then let's say we want to duplicate. Let's hold down Control D for duplication. Then you have to use G to pull it out from its duplicated friend here. And there we go. I'll just auto-save right there because it does that on a consistent basis. Here we go. So now we can connect. So we're connecting the bridge. We can kind of use G here, holding down G to kind of form this. Maybe it's a little too high. Maybe that's a little too high. As you can see here, I'm getting real close to it and checking everything. I can hold down T now and get it a little bit lower. There we go. Now it's flush. I can't really tell that there's even a line there. So that's a good example of like forming props together to make them, you know, look good. And we can find a lot of important things. I mean, everything is here. What I would recommend for you guys, people who are new to the prop creation, map creation, I'd recommend you go to the official maps and then you zoom around. So open the official maps in the editor, zoom around, find the objects, whatever you're looking for, find the object in question. Be like, okay, like for instance, if I wanted to spawn this one specific type of crate, right? So you would zoom around. Let's say that this bridge was, for instance, the crate. Okay, let's click on that. Now, how are we going to know what it is, right? So we go to variation IDs right here. As you can see, this is very important. This has a lot of very important stuff. What I'd recommend is you use your mouse and hover over each one of these and read them, because this has very important information that I'm not going to cover in this video. And so here we have the custom name right here. So this is just the default name right now, but I can change this to whatever I want. That is especially important when you're creating capture points. Now, this is the default name right here, and it also has a code, and as you can see here, it actually tells you what category it's in. So with that information, you can find it in the editor. So you can go onto a custom map, find an object, use the variation IDs to know exactly what it is, and then you'll know where it is to spawn. It's pretty easy after that. You just have to either create a list or remember what they are. And also read all this stuff too down here. Most of the stuff is told to you in one way or another in the editor. This question mark right here, lots of good information there. Okay, what else with props? I mean, there is a lot. So let's see here. Cannons. Let's get this is where all the vehicles are, like I said before. There's only certain ones that are the legitimate vehicles. So you might see a bunch of variations that are not like the legitimate actual vehicle that they use in the game. So once again, go into an official map, click on the vehicle, see which exact prop name it is, and then use that one. Okay, I can keep going. So yeah, you'll find pretty much everything here. You know, the trees, the rocks, everything. I mean, all of the stuff I did before was kind of covering everything that wasn't props. So like, props covers the vast majority of the, you know, effort you'll be putting into a map. And then in terms of the prop number, you'll see the prop number right here. Now it says 0 right now because I haven't saved. So let's go ahead and press the escape button. As you hear a couple options. This is what you use to actually get your map into the workshop, but I would recommend, you know, not doing that until it's actually done. The save and exit here is what I'm going to do here. This will basically refresh the map. So save and exit. And then I can open the editor again. And as you can see here, now the props are listed. The 2 bridge props that I set down. I would not recommend going over 30K. I think Cambrai Trenches has like 34K or something like that. But that's kind of pushing it. Yeah, I would say try to, if you can, you know, try to keep it under 30K. At the very most, you could, I guess, push it to like 35K. But the more props you add, you know, the lower the performance is going to be, you know, in general. So you don't want to push it too high with the prop count because you could make it really laggy, and nobody wants that. Okay, what else do I need to cover here? I guess we could go into like the, yeah, okay, here we go. So go to map settings here. We got the map name, you know, change it to whatever you want. As you can see, this is blacked out, but this will be your name. This you can't actually change, but this will just be whatever your username is, as the official author of whatever map you're making. Metadata here. So this is how you can actually determine if your map is a, like, you know, operation / breakthrough mode, which is called linear, or if it's just a normal conquest. You have free access to all the caps. So right now, by default, you have free access to all the caps. The way you change it to an operation style map is you can turn off the auto order here, linear, and cap in order. And so that way, if we had like A right here where my cursor is, and then like B right here, and then C way down here, so A, B, C going across, Germany will always start by attacking A. So that is just how it is. So always have A be on the German side. And so the Entente will always start by attacking the last point, so C in this case. And, you know, unless they change that in the future. So keep that in mind, because depending on if your map is Entente attacking or Central Powers attacking, that will determine where the map starts. So for instance, like I said, A over here, B over here, C down here. So if I had the Entente spawn down here, then they would be attacking C, right? Because C is down here, and that's where it would start. So the map would start out with you attacking C, because that's the last point, and that's where Entente always attacks. And then you go up to B, and then onward to A, and then you win the game. And then, if it's Central Powers attacking, you would have A over here, so that Central Powers would be attacking the A point, moving on to wherever the B point is here, and then down to the C point, and then they would win the match. So that is very important. Keep that in mind. Here you can also determine which factions are actually playing. You can have, well, right now they're going to add US in the future, but French and British. Germany, there's no other Central Powers yet, so just Germany. So you can do both, or you can do one or the other. And so you know from the vanilla maps, it has all three of those. Some are French, some are British, some are both. I prefer to do one or the other, but that's just my own preference. Anyways, what else is really important? Yeah, I think that's covering... the weather, yes. So these little sliders... wait, there's one other thing I wanted to cover. What was it? Oh yeah, the cap retake right here. So this, you can determine the amount of time between, like after you cap the point, it determines the amount of time that you have to hold it before it progresses. So I think the default amount of time, I want to say it's like 2 minutes and 30 seconds, I want to say. And so you do it by seconds. So if it's, so it'd be like 180 or whatever. That's 3 minutes. 120. So you have to put that in. So if you leave that as 0, it will just automatically skip. It won't have the retake time. So that is important for the operations mode. So moving on to the weather. So here we go. We got time of day. So these 4 sliders will determine the 4 times of day that your map will play at. So the time of day is not random. The time of day is determined by these 4 sliders. So if I wanted my map to be 100% night for some reason, I could slide these into nighttime, and I could make all of them nighttime. And, to add some spice, you make it different times of the night, right? So this one's 2 a.m. It's military time here, so 2 a.m., 23 o'clock, etc. And let's go back to daytime. So and then if I wanted a full day map, I could slide all of these to daytime. Maybe one in the morning, one in the afternoon, one in the evening, etc. And so then all of them would be day. Or you can do, a couple night or a couple day or whatever combination you want. You got the wind. I think the only thing the wind actually does is determine the amount of sound the wind is making. And it goes up to hurricane levels, so that's pretty cool. Yeah, the direction of the wind that might affect grass blowing and stuff like that. That's probably what it is. I actually don't know what that affects, to be honest. And then you got the weather type that it starts at. So this will be the default weather type. So if you're trying to get that perfect aesthetic, this is probably one of the later things that you want to do in your map, some of the more finishing touches kind of stuff. But you can get a exact type of weather. And then cloud coverage as well. If you want to make it overcast, crank it up. If you want to make it totally clear, crank it down. If you want there to actually start with snow and you don't want the snow to build up during the winter time, you can select this to have snow just already on the ground as soon as the map starts, and that's for winter time, which we'll get into in a second. And then snow amount, obviously the amount of snow on a winter map. During the winter, or not a winter map. During the winter time, every map is a winter map. Every map is all seasons, which I'll show you here. So seasons right here. Okay, so you can determine the default season, but this will change if it is in a campaign mode. Some people run custom maps in campaign modes on their server. This will change as the campaign progresses. So all these options here. So if I want to make my map winter focused, I would just start this out by default, and then as I'm editing the map as well, it's not going to show it right now, I'd have to restart the map, but there would be snow on the ground immediately. Alright, so these are the default seasons. This is for what you wanted to start at. But if it is in a campaign, then it's going to change, and it's going to be something different, depending on where the campaign is at. But you can select one of these and then exit the map and rejoin the map to kind of see what it looks like in these different seasons. And then also you can change the time, the day and the month here. This determines the sun and the temperature. So just I would say keep the temperature where the defaults are at, but you can change the exact month and day if you want the sun, I guess, to be in a certain spot. Or if you're doing like a exact historical map and you want it to be, you know, exactly the 4th of December or whatever, you can make that happen and make the sun in the exact spot. So yeah, moving on from that, we got longitude and latitude. I wouldn't worry about that, honestly. Just leave it how it is. Yeah, so that covers that. What else we got? I feel like I should talk more about props because there's so much with props. But I feel like I got all of the basics down. We should cover more about this. So let's go ahead and spawn a tank here. Oh, actually, no, this probably isn't the best example of what I'm trying to show. Let's go to, I don't know, ammo crates. No, actually, I just need like something. Okay, sure. Okay, so this stuff right here. So the position, you can change that, of course, manually if you really want to, but the rotation here. So as you can see here, as I use the various key commands I covered earlier, that will change. And so you can set it very exact by using those numbers. And you can type in all these boxes once again. And then scale here, pretty useful. So as you can see here, it's just under 1. Let's go ahead and change it to 1. Most props are 1 by default. And it's a little bit bigger now. And so we can actually stretch this and form this to be whatever shape we want. So for instance, if I wanted to make this a little bit longer, I can extend it, or I guess taller in this case. So we can extend it that way. I just turn the 1 into a 3. Let's change it back to 1. Now let's change the X to 3. Show that, so it's longer now. But still that same, you know, ordinary size. And then let's go ahead and change, let's turn that back to 1, change this to 3. And now we get it thicker. Super thick. And so that is super useful. You can get all of your props to exact sizes that you need. But definitely try not to overdo it, especially like making giant trees and stuff. If you're trying to make your map realistic, you know. So definitely keep an eye on those. There's a lot of stuff in other that's useful. There's so, like, honestly, just look through these and like mess around with these and like just read them, because there's a lot of stuff here and a lot of it is pretty useful, honestly. There's also like the water props, so if you wanted to add water to your map, that is going to be in here. There is only currently one working one as of when I'm making this video. The only working one right now is this one, the Water 350 River one. The other water props used to work, but they don't work currently. Anyways, moving on from that, geez, what should I even cover here? Okay, so I cut there because I didn't even really know where to start on other, but here's a good one just to kind of use as an easy one. These idlers here, these drill camp idlers, you can use this to scale everything properly, because the human being is a very, you know, easy comparison to height, right? So that way, for instance, if you made this bridge like obnoxiously large, like let's say it was I don't know, and you can make this crazy large too. I think you can crank this up to like 900, but keep in mind with super large props, they can potentially make the game laggy, especially if you go like over 100 on these, so keep that in mind. So yeah, as you can see here, now that we actually have a soldier here, because when this bridge is out here by itself, especially when you're like far away, you know, it could look like a reasonable size when it's not. But if you get up here and you have one of these idlers, and make sure to delete these. Don't forget about these, okay? Make sure to only use them while you're making the map. But you can use the idlers here to basically be like, oh, wait a second, this bridge is ginormous. I need to make this smaller or whatever. So very useful. As you can see, you know, I'm really just scratching the surface with this stuff. Some of the more advanced stuff that you want to get into in the future, and I probably will make another video on this. Some of the more advanced stuff would be like the capture points here, the spawn points, the bot stuff here, that's all probably stuff I'm going to get into another time. But that all is very important, especially if you're trying to make like a legitimate competitive map. And then while we're at it, let's go ahead and just cover trees real quick, because trees can be a little finicky. So let's go ahead and spawn this tree, right? Now, if you have ground that's a little uneven, you want to use the T to kind of slide the tree into a proper spot. There's a sweet spot for all the props. Well, all the props that will destruct if they're not in their proper place. And trees is one of them. So if we had the tree floating, for instance, and then we went ahead and saved and exited, that thing is just going to destroy right away. Now, don't worry. When props destroy like that, just open the editor and they're back to normal. So let's go ahead and use T to sink that down to the ground. And then save and exit. Let's see if we hit the sweet spot. We did indeed, but if we go too deep, it will actually destruct. Now, it might not destruct right away. So this is one of those situations where you have to wait a few seconds. Hopefully it will actually do it so that I'm showing this properly. Okay, maybe actually it's okay. This one might have a big sweet spot, but essentially if you make it too deep, it will destruct. There we go. And so you want to hit that sweet spot, but you can't actually tell until you saved and exited. Like I said, saving and exiting is what kind of refreshes the map. When you open the map editor, that kind of freezes everything in place. When you save and exit and let it ride, that is kind of showing you how the map is doing, you know, in a more live state. So yeah, that is all I'm going to cover. I am going to cut this short before I get too deep into the reads here.